order the Redevelopment Authority Citizens Committee here on October 3rd, 2016. And let's do roll call.
Chairperson Hanneman. Vice Chair Lapierre.
Here.
Member Bagwell. Here. Member Cardinal.
Here.
Member Justice.
Here.
Member Malloy.
Here.
Member Wickstead.
Here.
A quorum's present.
I'd like to invite the public at this time to comment on any issues or topics that are relevant to or within the authority of the Carson City Redevelopment Authority Citizens Committee, including any matter that is not specifically included on the agenda as an action item. Anyone from the public? Okay. I'd like to, I'm looking for a motion for approval of minutes from our June 6th, 2016 meeting.
Mr. Chair, we don't have the June 6 meetings minutes have already been approved. We don't have the August agendized, so August will have to be approved at the next meeting.
Gotcha. Should I put anything on record, or is that good?
That should be good enough.
Then let's move to item 5.1 for possible action. To approve the expenditure of up to $44,425 for facade improvements to the buildings located at 402 and 408 North Carson Street, known as the former Horseshoe Club building. And both of these buildings are within Redevelopment Area 1. I'm going to turn this over to Lee so he can give us a staff summary.
Good evening. For the record, Lee Plemel, Community Development Director. First of all, thank you all for attending this meeting on relatively short notice. This is a special meeting of RAC, not on your regular quarterly basis, but for this facade improvement program, as we've said from the start, we're going to take applications as they come in and bring them to you and schedule special meetings as necessary so that these applicants can move forward with the plans to improve the property. So again, thank you for your attendance tonight on that. So this application came in last month for two of the three APNs, two of the three properties that were formerly known as the Horseshoe Club. It's the most southerly parcel, which includes the building on Telegraph Street, as well as North Carson Street, and then the next one over. The third property will be held off. Improvements to the third property would be held off till later, possibly until additional redevelopment funds come available under the facade improvement program. In your packet is the application, including contractor's cost estimate for the improvements. They've been split up for the two separate properties individually so that the 50% applies to each property individually. You'll notice that the total project cost is over $100,000. It's approximately over $127,000, but the reimbursement for each property is based on only those improvements to that portion. So the shorter facade on Carson Street totals less than $20,000, or I'm sorry, totals less, the $39,000. So the half of that is only the $19,425. The applicant has one contractor's bid in the packet that has been submitted. I talked to the applicant, Jeanette, and she feels confident that she will be able to get the three bids and get it so that she can move forward and get reimbursed based on the lowest of the three bids. And I don't recall if I specifically mentioned this in the staff report, but certainly it's to both the advantage of the applicant in this case and the city that she's looking for the lowest cost. It's in both our interests because with the lower cost, that she's paying half of it. In fact, in this case, the applicant's paying more than half of it. So it's a cost benefit to find the lowest cost ultimately. With that, the applicants here, that you have the packet and the recommendation for approval for the requested funding subject to the conditions that are in the staff report. And I'd be happy to answer any questions, and the applicants in the audience for any questions of the applicant as well.
Lori?
So my question goes along with, can you tell me the third parcel and what section is not being done? I'm just trying to understand the project in its entirety. So is there any piece of Carson Street that will not be done?
So the applicant can correct me if I'm wrong looking at the photo here, but you have, it's these two facades in this photo represent two of the three properties. So I think as I calculated it out, using GIS and just measuring the frontage, it's approximately, did I say, it's approximately 80% of the total frontage of the building on Telegraph and going around Carson Street. So there's still 20% remaining that is not part of this application for improvements. So it'd be this portion of the building going off of the lower photo there. And it's this smaller facade over here between these two windows and Cactus Jack's next door.
And when is the plan to be looking to complete that facade?
I'll speak to that, Vic.
Thank you.
Sam Douglas with John Uhart Commercial Real Estate. We recently put that third building into escrow, so we've got a separate buyer that'll likely be in ownership of that building. He's got his own plan for it, so I'm not sure. I mean, I think he's going to move forward with improvements as soon as possible. If more funding comes available in the future, maybe he'll put an application for it, but at this point, it'll be a separate entity moving forward with improvements on that building.
Court?
Question, considering the two units, are there two different purposes going on? And I noticed that the facade doesn't seem to be congruent. It kind of changes up a little bit, so.
We'll just stand up.
Yeah, you might want to just hang out up there for a little bit, so.
Hi, I'm
Thanks.
Jeanette Kelly, for the record.
I'll take that question. I think, in marketing the buildings, we assume that two separate tenants are going to go in the downstairs retail spaces. Upstairs, the 402 building is an office building. The upstairs of the 408 building is residences. We thought not having a uniform look was the best way to position those properties for leasability and for future sales.
Chris?
And what are the intended or planned, or is there a planned use for these two properties thus far, or are there still in?
Currently, we have restaurant improvements downstairs for the 402 building, so it makes the most sense to try to solicit a restaurant-type user in there. The 408 building downstairs is probably best suited for retail-type use, maybe some sort of bar, something like that. So, I mean, it just depends what kind of demand comes in. Upstairs of the 402, the corner building is pure office space. It makes the most sense to keep that as office space. The 408 building upstairs is residences and will be, remodeled and converted back to residences, most likely.
Thank you.
I did have a question. I had a question. At one time, I was reading about the background of your project. You had intended to sell one of the buildings. Is that the one that's going into escrow, or you
Yes.
intend to retain these other buildings?
Yes, the one
Okay.
with the 410 North Carson Street address.
Okay, thank you.
Chris?
Thank you, Garrett. One other question. It looks as though the bottom photo is from the proposed downtown street improvements. Are those exactly replicating what the intended improvements are for these properties, or is there more of a detailed plan coming?
It's very close.
Yeah, I believe Lee Plemmel, I believe these are from the architect, actually, and I think their architect took the city's plans and incorporated them in there, but
Yes.
the architect did the
They're
renderings,
his
yeah.
own renderings.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you. I just
And
noticed the similarity, but
Yeah, the only thing that may differ, well, it's probably a similar software program, but the colors may change a bit. We maybe decide, I haven't looked at swatches and really done a lot of analysis on appropriate colors, and it also depends on what type of business goes in, what would fit their logo and image. So
Overall, that's what the
Overall, it
aesthetics will be,
is.
though, of the
yeah,
project.
and we may do underneath the balcony windows, the bay windows with the balcony on the 408 building. We may leave a strip along there that for signage for a potential retailer. In the past it was Muller's Drugs. Up until 1979, it said Muller's Drugs across it, and I think it's a good feature for a business. So that's another difference.
thank you.
You're welcome.
I just wanted to follow back up on the architectural, the question regarding the difference in the facade frontages. And actually that's in conformance with the downtown design guidelines and kind of the trend for older downtowns in general, where facades have been combined into one big one. It's taking those off and going back to the more historic frontage that was there before. And I think if you look at the existing building, you can see on the roof line that there's kind of three distinct old buildings there. And so I think taking it architecturally back to this, I think is it Darren Berger that worked on this, or is it
Joey Lazan.
Joey Lazan? Okay, yeah. So I think that's kind of what they're going for, is going back to that look, and again, it's in compliance with our design standards and what kind of you look for in these historic downtown design.
Yeah, and you can see where in the past they had covered up windows and doors, particularly along Carson Street, when it kind of became a wall of traffic there anyway. And so now we want to bring the windows back, bring the focus back onto Main Street, add a corner window to the left of the corner door there on the south side, on Telegraph side, and two single doors in the 408 building that are currently covered up. We'd like to bring those back. We feel it kind of brings the whole concept back to the historic feel and those enhancements that create that feel. And the buildings, if you can see, it's tough from the picture, but the existing buildings show they already have a lot of those architectural details, and we want to highlight those. And for instance, the molding along the top, the bricks that create the design in the 408 building. We want to highlight those again right now because they're there, but they blend in at this point. They're camouflaged with the same color paint, and then put a similar complementary stripe of molding along the middle to cover up the holes that that exist now. Because we didn't know what was behind the casino signage, and that was one of our main goals last year, was to because people still thought it was a casino, when we wanted to change it to make sure people understood and create that perception that there were 3 and now 2 distinct buildings with their own characteristics and styles, and will have different businesses in them. That's also a good amount of square footage for a business, for a local business, if it's a mom and pop type place.
Lee, if this is being televised, maybe if you go further in your packet, at least on mine, page 31 had a view of the front of the building that showed that third building a little bit better. If you have that available, then that way we all can kind of see that third building that won't be included in this project.
Yeah, you can see half of it. At one time, it was the Victory Club until 1991. It was the old Victory.
It's where you have the horseshoe sign still.
Yes, the blade that comes straight down. I left that so it'd be grandfathered so whoever owns it can decide whether or not they want to keep it. At one point, there was a balcony there too. They covered it up with the sign. There's a lot of history of these buildings.
I'd just like to say I applaud what you're doing, and if it comes out even remotely close to the rendering, I think it's going to be fantastic.
Thank you.
Just one thing I'd like to point out is we do have a 1-year payback if you sell the property within that 1 year. So I just want to make sure you're aware and that you know that. I agree with Court that this is a wonderful project, absolutely great. I'm happy that you got one in escrow. Good job. You're in good hands over there with Sam. Good. But I just want to make sure you guys are aware of that 12-month window. Okay.
Yes, thank you. And I appreciate your help in helping me further this project.
Any more discussion?
Go ahead. I'd just like to compliment you because I think this is, for me, this was what the focus of this program was supposed to take care of, was a building, that would look blighted and
Appreciate that.
And boarded up and clean it up. And I think definitely by keeping the 3 properties with their own original facade does does really enhance the block instead of just one large building. You know, it gives it more character, the three old buildings. And so I just want to commend you on moving forward on this project. And too bad it wasn't ready for Nevada Day. But anyway.
We'll do our best. We'll do our best to at least clean it up. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, and just a question. I had just for our information, what impact did the availability of the facade improvement funds have on this project? Have you been able to be more ambitious with this, would you say, or have there been any specific changes you've made to your original plans?
Yes, absolutely. It helps me to move forward.
Okay, thank you.
Gives me a little bit bigger budget. Thank you.
Okay, someone want to give me a motion? Public comment on this action item 5.1. Any public comment? Now does anybody want to give me a motion?
I'll do it. I move to approve $44,425 in redevelopment facade improvement program grant funding for 402 and 408 North Carson Street, subject to the conditions and approvals in the staff memo.
Second.
I got a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Great. Passes unanimously.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
again.
guys.
Thank you,
Thanks
guys.
for your time.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go to item number 6, which is discussion only. Staff reports and update on matters relating to RAC. We're going to hand that over to Lee.
Thank you, and I don't have much to report in terms of new information. The downtown streetscape improvements are going forward. There's weekly reports on street closures. From what I've heard, they're still on track to make sure it's open before and completely done so that the Nevada Day Parade can go down the center all the way from one end to the other. I know there's some people working on a little bit of a celebration, grand open, ribbon cutting ceremonies before that. I think that's still in the works, so I don't have any specific dates to report on that. In terms of upcoming future agenda items, so as I mentioned earlier, November is the regularly scheduled meeting date for RAC, and then the next quarterly meeting will be in February, so we're already looking kind of next year, and it's already time to start thinking about our capital improvement plan and our budgeting expenditure plan for next year. So as some ideas have come up over the last few meetings, in November I want to put an item on the agenda so we have that brainstorming session, not to set a final budget or make a final recommendation on improvements and allocation of budget, but to start getting those ideas out there so that in February of next year, we can start prioritizing those to be right at the beginning of the budget cycle for the 2017-2018 fiscal year. So that's what I have on the regular, that's the only thing I have right now on the regular agenda for November, so I'd be happy to hear other things that you might want to discuss that you might have mentioned in the past that I don't have on there right now.
So let's do RAC member reports, and if there's something you guys would like to see on the agenda, we'll start down here with Chris, and then we'll work our way here. I'll skip me, and I'll go last.
Despite the lack of a thorough and extensive report today, I would like to just think about possibly an item to talk about improvements towards the south end of the redevelopment district because of the freeway being completed. Whether that be, and also I would like to see if that includes any new billboards that are allowed, because I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing yet, but I would like to see that. That's the only thing I can think of, because I know that's going to change traffic dramatically, and we still want to bring traffic into Carson City.
Yeah, there's planning work going on right now for South Carson Street, so I'll make sure I'll get a report on the agenda for that. Yeah.
Thank you, Lee.
I had something, I did email Lee just about a question. I've always thought that there was a lack of cash machines downtown. I thought it would have been a good thing to have in the new square downtown to have that. I don't know if it's appropriate to have here, but because it's just like with the farmers market and other events that are popping up there, that it could be useful if we, I don't know, go together with a credit union or a bank and see if we can fund, sponsor something or make it, even a condition of some redevelopment that's happening in that region. that they have that?
And yeah, that, for the next meeting, that would be the type of thing that'd be appropriate too. But I think besides that, we don't have to wait for that. And I've been working on other things recently, but that is a conversation. I think I've passed that along to our business development manager. And, that's something we can shop around for interest just from the business development side of things. And maybe it doesn't even take redevelopment funding to do something like that. So we'll continue to work on that.
I'll franchise it, the cash machine. No, I still have some issues with tightening up our definitions for the facade program. And even in this case tonight, I didn't bring it up because there was enough total funds in this thing that it wouldn't have made a difference one way or the other. But here again, in their budget, they included things in the alley, which per our original conversation shouldn't be included. It's only the facade sides of the building. So I think that and some of the signage things where we've had some disagreements, I'd just like to see us be able to go back and revisit some of our definitions and some of our conditions. There's been a number of those cases, yeah.
And then the only thing I have is now that the plaza's open, we kind of know what we have and what we don't have, infrastructure-wise. I think it'd be a good time to have a discussion about maybe there's some things there that aren't there currently that we could have that would enhance the experience down at the plaza and enhance, ATMs, things like that. And whether that's through redevelopment funds or whether that's through sponsorships or whatever else, I think that's a good discussion for us to have and have agendized.
I'll piggyback on that because we have had some discussions in the past about establishments and probably more in particular restaurants that want to have some outside seating and whether or not they need to rent that space, because if it were me, I'd rent the smallest little building and put a hot dog stand in and put all my seating out on the sidewalk and pay the least amount of property taxes I have to. So I'm not sure. I noticed in the plaza already we're getting these gazebos put up and businesses are starting to use those, and I don't know if it's theirs, if the city put them up, who's rent, if there's any rent, just I think we need to discuss some of that.
Thank you for reminding me of that. I appreciate the reminder. And I agree. I think that's something we need to talk about. I don't know, the gazebo, and this is just my personal thoughts I'll throw out there, gazebo doesn't bother me as much because that's shade. I mean, people can use that, and when the business isn't open, they can use that as shade, and that enhances the plaza. What I have an issue with is a wall that is out in the middle of a plaza. How did that get there? How did somebody put a wall up in the plaza when they don't own that? That's not their property to do that. Even the property owner, who's not the business owner, doesn't own that. So that I'm a little confused about. So I'd like to see what we can do, if anything, for that.
There's an encroachment permit process and that's being worked on, so I can provide a report on that. I think the use of city property by businesses is not in the purview of the Redevelopment Authority Citizens Committee, but I can give you a report on the encroachment permit that we are working on, or that I should say Public Works is working on, but we're all coordinating on it because it touches some different areas.
Any other public comment? Okay. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
We are adjourned.